In June 2015, when Prime Minister Modi announced India's Smart City mission, it was met with a lot of excitement and a lot of skepticism. Almost 4 years later, when you step out of your homes into the urban chaos in any city of India, you're left wondering, what is really happening under the Smart City mission? Well, let's find out from the man who's at the helm of affairs, Mr. Kunal Kumar, Director, Smart Cities Mission. Mr. Kumar, thank you very much for joining us and speaking to CNBC TV 18. So, how would you rate the mission right now? Would you say something's been achieved, miles to go, or would you say a lot has been achieved?
Well, it all depends on how you see a mission. In fact, all depends on how you see a particular thing in life. If you go by the numbers, the mission started with a $30 billion, close to $30 billion framework of projects.
Correct.
So close to 2,05,000 crores. See the numbers today, 3.5 years down the line, we've tendered projects close to around 1,10,000 crores, which is more than half.
Half the money is already been tendered.
Exactly. And then more than 65,000 crores of projects have now been work ordered, which means that those works have started on ground. And typically works take 2 to 3 years to get over. So a beginning has been made, and therefore those projects are going to come alive. And if you see the numbers, so 50% plus tendering and 30% plus work ordering, anybody would say that the mission has actually performed on ground. It started to pick up. But then, of course, smart cities are never going to be a destination. Smart cities are always a journey. No city in the world today claims it's arrived, and there's nothing more to do as far as becoming a smart city is concerned. And therefore, our smart cities are also evolving, and they're evolving on different parameters. They're evolving on how they engage with citizens. They're evolving on how to, kind of create 360-degree projects which are integrated in nature, and they're working on various fields. So I think it's been a success. But of course, there's always skepticism, which is, I think, healthy, because it makes us do even more. And this is, I think, going to be really beneficial for the cities because there's feedback. And this, I think, positive, constructive discussion that's happening around smart cities is another dimension which makes me feel that Smart Cities mission has actually been a success.
You talked about positive conversations now. At least we've brought cities in our focus. It has become a conversation and a big one. Having said that, when I look at the projects which have been tendered or what is visible, I think the biggest thing which is visible in terms of execution is the command and control centers in several of the cities. What is the citizen impact of these command and control centers?
Yes, so again, by the numbers, more than 50 plus cities are on the verge of getting their command and control centers built during this year. Actually, more than 15 of those have almost become operational. 13 have actually started operation way back. A lot of people feel, that technology is kind of the ether, and the physical world is separate, and since we have not been able to fix our physical world, why do we even bother to talk about technology?
Exactly.
But here lies the biggest misconception, because technology and the physical world, the interplay is almost intertwined to each other. They're not separate. Today, we plan so many things on technology that we have. We plan our journeys based on what we see on Google Maps. We plan our, engagements depending on so many things that technology offers us. Imagine cities. Tomorrow, when you want to plan your transportation network in the city, you need to know what's happening on the roads, where are people starting from, where are the journeys ending, what is the mode of movement of people in the city. Our ICCCs are generating the data which is required to plan cities. And so you can plan cities in the traditional way by doing traditional human surveys, which will be typically 30-day surveys where the best sample you can get is about 30,000, 40,000 people. But the kind of technology that ICCCs bring in, with the way we are working on it, you can do millions of samples in a month because of the kind of data sources that we are handling. So that's one. City planning has come alive and is getting into a completely new dimension because of ICCCs. You see the impact on citizens. The cities which have actually implemented are seeing reduction in crime because,
and that
cameras.
Is visible.
That's visible. And that's there in data. That's recorded. Cities have seen improved traffic behavior. And there have been, quite a lot of important people who've been caught, jumping traffic signals because now the city has its eyes on its own because the cameras are the eyes of the city. You see better compliance in water. Leakages in water have gone down in many places. A general sense of security and safety, and general sense of management. For example, public transport. Where do we actually need buses to ply? Where do we actually need, street lights? Where do I need to improve my infrastructure. All these decisions are now happening in real time. You have traffic management systems where you actually are managing the flow of traffic and thereby increasing the network speed in real time. You have transport management systems as part of the ICCC, which help you manage your public transport in real time. So these are things which we have to understand, that this is not technology independent of physical. Technology, we generally tend to know about GIS. We say geographical information systems. Right. You want to improve the weather, or you want to improve the pollution level in your city. You want to improve traffic congestion. It's technology which will tell you what needs to be done, where it needs to be done, and how bad or how good the situation is. And then you can plan in the physical world. So that interplay is creating an interesting mix of city planning, improvement in civic outcomes, and planning for the future that cities are doing on sustainability, circular economy, which is of immense value. And this was just not heard about before the Smart Cities mission. No city was talking about a command control center, but now we have it functioning and showing the results on ground.
So you spoke about the layer of technology over physical infrastructure and city planning as a whole, but that requires a lot of data mining. I mean, command and control centers can mine or collect huge amount of data, but how do you really use it? And I went to, let's say, the inauguration of the Bhopal Command and Control Center. I'm just wondering, do cities have the capabilities to actually mine the data, come out with analysis, and actually implement all that you spoke about?
Yes, and that's the better part of the story. In fact, do you know how all these 100 smart cities now have appointed chief data officers?
They have?
All of these smart cities have data officers, and they're working actively on promoting exactly what you talked about, use of data, data culture to promote data-driven governance. That's the mandate on which these smart city data officers are working. In fact, we've worked with them actively over the last 3.5 months. The Smart Cities mission now has its own data strategy. Every city is getting into public-private alliances, which forming city data alliances. We, at the city level, at the state level, and not at all the states at the moment, some states have begun, and at the national level, are setting up what we call data observatories. And we're trying to mine all this data, put data scientists, people who have expertise in data in place to do the job for us, in the sense to give us the insights, to mine the data as per our needs. Say, for example, if you want to work on climate, you want to work on the water systems, you want to work on transport, get the right amount of data, translate that into insights, and then what we call the actionable intelligence, where the insight actually converts into action on ground. So a lot of work has gone into creating the data strategy. Now that we are 3.5 years, now we are actually going to launch what we call the data challenge. And all the cities, so there's a sub-challenge within the Smart Cities mission. The Smart Cities mission, by the way, has grown through competition. It's never been a selection. So data challenge also is a kind of a competition between these cities, of course, healthy competition, to see who is doing what on data. And this data challenge is due for launch in a couple of weeks. And then the cities will then compete with each other to create the best alignments, best alliances, best institutional infrastructure, and the best use of data going forward. So we are working on the foundations of data. It's not about getting an ICCC, having loads of data, and then not knowing what to do with it.
Absolutely, that was a big concern.
Is the biggest thing that we have put in place, and that's going to weave the story. In fact, going forward a year or two from now, the data that we will have about smart cities is, I don't think there will be anything else required to put a right planning framework, understand where we are headed, to monitor the right KPIs in these cities going forward. Wow. That is the foundational work that's happened.
Sounds very impressive. Then let me come to the hard question. Fantastic to see those command and control centers. Really, I mean, in smaller cities, they are the biggest wow factor. Having said that, let's also come to the physical infrastructure and some of the other aspects we were also meant to include in smart cities, whether it's smart roads, smart transportation, solar. I've seen the numbers in terms of investments there. They've been lesser, projects have been lower. Is it because these are larger city projects? They also have to, go hand in hand with Amrut, which is another mission of the Ministry of Urban Development. What's the story there?
Yeah, so these numbers are lesser because most of these numbers are getting captured in Amrut and solid waste management, as in Swachh Bharat mission. So we need not capture those numbers here because they're getting captured in the other missions, but those works are also happening in these cities. And especially in smart cities, we're looking at what we call the smarter ways of doing these things. So if, for example, you're doing water systems, A traditional water system won't really have the right sensors and the right command and control centers for them to, to be able to monitor where the leakages are happening, what kind of water system governance is required. So that is happening through the smart cities in a big way, and that's probably not the bigger numbers, because if you do a water supply system, if you spend 100 crores, maybe 5 crores of it will be this the smart part of it, but that actually helps you leverage and bring cost effectiveness and get the maximum output from this 100 crores.
Of the 95 which is going into probably the Amrit.
Exactly. So convergence between Amrit, Swachh Bharat, PMAY and Smart Cities Mission has been one of the main points of work, where we are trying to bring all the benefits of all the missions, club them together in one single project. That's how this is happening. And by the way, no cities were working on solar before the Smart Cities Mission. I have very little, few examples. Now more than a quarter of the smart cities are actually working on smart solar. In fact, Diu has now become the first city to actually use all daytime energy only through solar. And Vizag, Bhopal, all of these are planning big floating or big solar plants for. And by the way, the smart cities are trying. That's the larger goal, that at least 10% of our energy needs in the cities should come from solar energy. Then water, of course, a lot of smart elements are getting added into water. Wastewater management is another area. Stormwater drainage is another area of work. So don't go by the numbers specifically in one mission. If you look at the city as a whole, when all the missions are captured, these are key areas of work. And let me tell you, in fact, a lot of people think, unless you fix water, wastewater, how do you talk about a smart city? One, the technology, physical interplay has to be understood. And the second, work is happening in that area, big time.
Okay. When you're saying work is happening in that area big time, now there are 100 of these cities, right? There were these lighthouse cities, the first batch, and then the others kept getting added in the second round and the third round. Can you pick some of the cities which you are using as an example for others to follow and are saying that, look, these guys have got it right?
I wouldn't want to pick up specific cities, but I would say that cities in Gujarat, some cities in Maharashtra, some cities, in fact, the cities in Andhra Pradesh have done fairly well. Cities in Madhya Pradesh have done well. The couple of cities even in the northeast, for example, I should name this city, Namchi. It's a small 20,000 people city. It's doing fantastic work. Most of the cities in northeast are now picking up. Karnataka and Tamil Nadu as a bunch. Karnataka has 7 cities and Tamil Nadu has 11. In fact, Tamil Nadu has the highest number of cities. These two have picked up in the last year or so phenomenally. You can see the work that's happening. In fact, Tamil Nadu, all the cities have come together to make a cloud-based command and control center. So 11 of them have worked together to reduce costs and leverage the strengths of each of the cities to create one single cloud and command control center. Then Karnataka, of course, a lot of cities have taken interest. So there are stories all over the country. Now cities in UP, Himachal, Punjab, they're also moving up. In fact, Jammu, Srinagar and Jammu were late to start. So these are the cities which now need to actually catch up. And in fact, Banaras is one example in UP.
I was going to come to Varanasi.
Yes, which has actually done extremely well in this cohort of cities also. So there are good examples everywhere across the country.
They were a bit late though. I mean, I think northern cities were slightly late in catching up. But having said that, let's come to Varanasi, because there's a lot of interest ahead of the elections in that city. And I think the bigger goal there is, at the most defined goal is to make it zero emissions or discharge into the river Ganga. And that is supposed to be accomplished in this year, 2019. You think they're on the way, on the road to doing it?
In fact, what they're saying is March 2020, by the way.
Okay.
It's March 2020 and they're easily on the way. Varanasi has done a lot of work in water supply and wastewater management in itself through the Smart Cities Mission and Amrit projects, convergence again. But overall, that entire area is moving towards a clean Ganga mission by March 2020. And Varanasi is actually led on technology also. In fact, their command and control center is up and running. Of course, not inaugurated. It's due to be inaugurated, I think, in the next a couple of weeks. So that's the first one going live in that part of course, Allahabad has already gone live. In fact, I should mention that because Kumbh is getting monitored by the command and control center.
Very interesting to see what data comes out of that though.
Yeah, exactly. That's a phenomenal thing. And in fact, the management of the Kumbh has become so easy because the city could manage the smart city center just before the Kumbh came up. So Varanasi is doing definitely very well, both on technology and the physical sectors that matter most to citizens like water, wastewater, roads. It's doing very well in that.